Okay, so here's this. Here's coming to you live, part number 2. So if you're watching this on replay, just drop in the word replay down below. If this is the very first time you and I are connecting, hello, my name is Sherry Hollenbach, and what this quick video is going to be relating to is, I want to start with this. When you are thinking any sort of a suffering emotion, any sort of disturbing emotion, 100% of the time, 100, that'd be 100, 100% of the time you are making your brain worse. And another way to put it is you can't think greater than how you feel. Now, what does that mean? Is if you're sitting there in the emotion of suffering, let's just say emptiness. You're sitting there in the emotion of emptiness, how you feel triggers very specific thoughts. So if you're feeling empty, it triggers thoughts of emptiness. And whenever you trigger thoughts of emptiness, then it gets displayed into your behavior. So your emotions equals your thoughts, which equals your actions. And whenever you do those actions of the emptiness, it brings in more emotion emptiness, which brings in more thinking emptiness. I can say the exact same thing about health. Whenever you're feeling sick, whenever you're feeling fatigued, whenever you're feeling like you can't keep going, whenever you're feeling that lack inside, it's going to drive more thinking of that lack, which is going to drive more actions. You taking actions of that lack, which then is going to put you in more situations to make you feel fatigued, to make you feel sick, to make you feel empty, to make you feel XYZ, which is going to drive more emotions. That it's just this whole self-condemning cycle. And what you're doing in the process is you're conditioning your body to become addicted. When I say addicted, I want you guys to understand it's addiction. It drives your body to feel addicted to those specific emotions, so much to where your body will go into autopilot. Like these panic attacks I've referenced, these anxiety attacks I've referenced, these all of a sudden you're happy, next thing you know, like you're depressed episodes. It does not come by accident. It becomes, and there's no unseen hand of karma, by the way, that comes in and gets you. There's no such thing as karma, in my opinion. You are the karma to yourself. And what that means is you feel these emotions, and all a body needs just for conditioning is just to think a thought and then feel an emotion. That's it. And you do it enough times, the body will go into autopilot. So let's say with the panic attacks, you feel these fearful thoughts, or you think these fearful thoughts, and as human beings, once unchecked, you go to the worst case scenario. Out of all the millions of different infinite possibilities out there, human beings will grab the worst case scenario. So you're sitting there thinking about the worst case scenario, and then obviously whenever you think, science says that whenever you think something, or you actually do something, it fires the exact same area of the brain. In other words, the body does not know what's real or what's not real. So you think these panic thoughts. Are you guys following me? Drop down the word follow if you are following me right now. If you get it, I want to know how high level I can go, because I got 2 tips I want to give you. But whenever you have these feelings of the panic, they're going to drive actions of panic, which is going to give you more emotions of that panic. And you do that cycle long enough, that's why people wake up at 2 a.m. in a panic attack. That's why people, in the airport start having these anxiety attacks. Like, that's what happens, because you condition your body so much to that emotion you're addicted to that it will happen on autopilot with or without your awareness, with or without your consent. You guys with me? Drop down or with me if you guys are with me. So what is the purpose of that whole entire conversation? It's because there's something that you can do. Number one is to wake up that a lot of humans right now are living in cause and effect, meaning they're waiting for something out there. It's something I commonly talk about. I just talked about last night, but they're waiting for something out there to take away the emptiness, meaning they're waiting for a relationship, that perfect lady or guy or whatever, dog, whatever you want, that perfect thing out there to show up before they can feel that pure love. They're waiting for the money before they can feel the abundance. They're waiting for the health. They're waiting for the health in order to feel healthy. Like, they're waiting for that out there before they can feel that emotion. And that's called cause and effect. And that is ineffective and does not work. because if you're feeling lack, if you're out there searching for something, that's driving more thoughts of lack, which is giving you more actions of lack, which is putting you in more situations to feel more lack. And people spend their whole entire life living this cycle of lack, which just puts you further and further away from where you want to be in your outcome. So then my challenge is be the cause and then get the effect. Be the cause and get the effect, meaning feel the feeling of love and watch the love come into your life. Feel the feeling of health and then watch the health. Watch your healing begin. Feel the feeling of abundance and then watch the money start to take place. Like, it's to cause and then to effect. So then the questions I get bombarded with is, how do you do that? And my first tip is this, because the question is, how do you feel worthy whenever your whole entire life you've been told you're not worthy? How do you feel, loved whenever your whole entire life you've been told the story you're not loved? You've been telling yourself the story you're not loved. Like, how do you feel abundant when your whole entire life you're not? Like, you're broke and you've been broke, your family's been broke, like you've been told that story your whole entire life. Like, how do you, when you have those stories? And step number one is quit telling the story. Like, quit telling the story that you're broke. Quit telling this story about this relationship and that's why you're jaded. Quit telling the story about because the economy crashed, or because this person stole this, or this person is, and that's why you're broke. Like, quit telling those stories. Like, just stop. Like, stop telling any stories that trigger those emotions, because what happens when you access that story, you go back and the brain can't tell what's real or what's not real, what's in the past or what's now. Because so whenever you think about it, all of a sudden you start to induce that emotion, and now you're conditioning the body to that emotion. Hence, your body gets addicted to feeling that emotion. So let's just say, this is one of my favorite examples that was taught to me. Let's just say it's an ex relationship. And because of this person, this lady did A, B, and C to you, like you can't trust. This person just screwed you over and just gaslighted you and did all these horrible things to you, and so you can no longer trust anymore. Okay, let's go ahead and take that. This is specific what I was told. Let's go ahead and take this lady and strap her onto a rocket and shoot her over to the moon. And now she's gone. Like, she's gone. But like, you still have to deal with you. Like, you still have to deal with you. So now that they're gone, you realize that you're the problem. You're the one that allowed yourself to get addicted to these emotions by going back and telling the story and telling the story and telling the story and telling the story. You make sense? Drop down, make sense if it makes sense. Okay, so here's a new tip, and that's tip number 2. So now that number 1, you quit telling the story. Like, you don't need to tell the story. Like, don't tell the story. There's no reason to indulge in the story that drives these emotions that you don't want to be addicted to. But number 2 is figure out what programming is going on. Now, the question is, how do you do that? Well, sit with yourself. Just challenge you. Just sit with yourself for 5 minutes. Sit with yourself for 10 minutes in complete silence. Maybe 20 minutes if you want to like really go out there and really get to know yourself. Sit with yourself and think of nothing. Think of black. Think just nothing for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And during this process, what you're going to realize is during this process of meditation, which, by the way, meditation means get to know yourself. Because whenever you sit there and you just become quiet, all of a sudden all your programming starts to come up. And so you sit there. And I want you to recognize, this isn't something just like, I hope you do this for yourself. But this isn't something I just like think it's going to work. I know for a fact it works. You don't need like a coach to go tell you this. You don't need a counselor to go tell you this. You don't need to pay anybody to go pay any money to go tell what's going on or what your holdup or what your issue is or what your blocks are. You don't need to pay a dime to anybody. Like, sit down with yourself for 20 minutes, close your eyes. It costs you nothing, and realize what are the reoccurring thoughts that come up, what are the reoccurring emotions that come up. And so you sit there and you think. And do you think about, oh my gosh, this is stupid. Like, why am I doing this? Do you think about, like, I got other things to go do? Do you feel the emotion of scarcity? Do you feel the emotion of guilt because you did X, Y, Z? Do you feel the emotion of inadequacy? Or do you feel the emotion of whatever emotion is going on? Like, what's going on? And so you just sit there with yourself and you realize what is your programming. And during that time, that's when you become obsessed. You become addicted to what is your subconscious programming. Meaning, I am not about the concept of avoid the negative. Like, don't talk negative, avoid the negative. Like, I'm not about that. I want you to become obsessed when it's a tool used for you. I want you to become obsessed with the negative, obsessed with your negative thoughts. Like, I dig in and identify them. That does not mean you need to go back and go relive events that trigger those emotions, but it does mean you need to work through the emotions. So whenever you sit there and think by yourself, I want you to go and start writing down what are all these subconscious thoughts going in your mind? What are all these subconscious emotions you're feeling taking place? Because what have you got your body addicted to feeling? Is it scarcity? Is it guilt? Is it shame? Is it what is like, what emotions? You know yours. I don't know what yours, but you know yours. Like, write those stuff out and become obsessed with them and memorize them. That way, not a single thought. Not like with me, I want to become addicted and obsessed with every single negative thought that ever could enter into my mind. That way, I know what's up. I know what's coming in and what's not coming in. I'm so memorized about the negativity, like what could potentially be in my subconscious programming, that whenever it shows up, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I recognize that. Like, you get out of here. Because what's so scary is whenever you don't know what's there. Like, whenever you have no idea. And this is going on in your mind over and over and over and over for a year, a decade, a lifetime playing. So if you can memorize what your negative programming is, if you can memorize your negative thoughts, your go-to statements, your go-to emotions, become aware of them. That's step number 2. So number 1 is quit telling the story. Step number 2, get to know yourself and become aware of all your subconscious programming. Because 90% of it, I'm going to say 94.3% of it is just leveling up and becoming aware. Because once you become aware, you are no longer the programming. You're now the consciousness observing the programming. That was deep. Drop down the word deep if you guys got that. Drop down the word deep if you got that. You were now the consciousness observing the programming. And that's where the control starts to come into play. Like, that's when you can start taking your power back. Because what you will start realizing is that the emotions that you're addicted to, you use your friends to reaffirm your addiction to suffering. You use your boss to confirm your addiction to judgment. You use Facebook to confirm your addiction to judgment. You use your enemy to confirm your addiction to anger, to hate. Like, you use these people just to endorse the addictions that you have in these emotions, but you don't realize that until you start to get to know yourself. And then once you get to know yourself and you realize what these emotions you're addicted to, they no longer will have control over you. That's step number 2. And after you do that, what's step number 3? Well, I'll have to fill you in tomorrow. So if you guys got value, drop the word value down below. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Harlan, Tammy. Kristen, so good to see you. Harlan, Tammy, Pierre, deep, Stu, deep. I know, Claudia. I know, Stu. I know. Elaine, I know. All right, you guys got value, drop the word value down below, and I'll give you tip number 3 tomorrow. All right, bye.